The Great Stink, the day the empire choked. In the year 1858, London was the undisputed capital of the world. It was the heart of an empire upon which the sun never set. It was a city of Dickens, of Darwin, and of Queen Victoria, a city of unimaginable wealth, where the pulse of the Industrial Revolution beat loudest. But if you were to step into the streets of Victorian London, your first thought wouldn't be of progress. It wouldn't be of gold or steam. It would be of survival. Because the workshop of the world had a secret, a dark, liquid secret that flowed beneath its feet and gathered in its lungs. For 1,000 years, the rhythm of London was dictated by the River Thames. It was the city's lifeblood, its primary highway, and its sacred source. But by the mid-19th century, the river was forced to play a different, more villainous role. It had become the world's largest open sewage ditch. This is the story of a summer when the ego of the greatest empire on earth met the reality of its own waste. A story of how an invisible killer haunted the streets and how one unbearable, suffocating smell, the Great Stink, finally forced humanity to build the world we inhabit today. Watching the past so we can understand the present.
I am Eni.
And this is History Reborn. Act 1. The Throne of Filth. To understand the crisis of 1858, we must understand how a city of 3 million people lived before the modern world. In the early 19th century, London's sanitation was effectively medieval. Most houses had cesspools, brick-lined pits dug into the ground beneath the floorboards or in the tiny backyards. There were hundreds of thousands of them. Some were never emptied. They simply overflowed, soaking the soil, the foundations, and the very air people breathed. There was a profession for this, the Nightmen. They would come in the dead of night to shovel out the human waste and sell it as fertilizer to farmers outside the city. It was a brutal, honest, and vital cycle. It kept the city in a delicate, if disgusting, balance. But then progress arrived, and progress, ironically, broke everything. The invention of the water closet, the flush toilet, was marketed as the ultimate luxury. It promised to whisk away the mess with the pull of a chain. By the 1850s, every middle-class home in London wanted one. But there was a fatal flaw. The toilets were connected to the old, crumbling rainwater drains, which were never designed to carry sewage. Where did these drains lead? Gravity had only one answer: the Thames. By the mid-1850s, the Nightmen were out of business. The fertilizer market collapsed because the waste was now diluted with water, making it useless for farmers. Instead of being hauled away to the fields, the waste of 3 million souls was being flushed directly into the river that provided the city's drinking water. The Thames was no longer a river. It was a viscous, grayish-black sludge that ebbed and flowed with the tides, never truly leaving the city. It just sat there, fermenting under the London sun. And with the filth came the Blue Death, cholera. Act 2. The Ghost of Miasma. In the 19th century, the greatest minds in medicine were blinded by a single word: miasma. They believed that diseases like cholera and typhoid were caused by bad air, the foul smells rising from rotting matter. To the Victorians, the smell was the disease. They thought if you could mask the odor, you could stop the death. We now know they were wrong. We know that the killer was in the water, a microscopic invader called Vibrio cholerae. But in the 1850s, as thousands collapsed in the streets, their skin turning a haunting shade of blue, as their bodies were emptied of every drop of fluid, the terror was focused on the stench. There was a man, Dr. John Snow, who realized the truth. He tracked a cholera outbreak to a single water pump on Broad Street. He proved that those who drank the water died, and those who didn't lived. He told the authorities that the Thames was a poison chalice. But the government didn't listen. Science, as is often the case, was ignored in favor of convenience and cost. The politicians sat in the newly built Palace of Westminster, turning their backs to the river, hoping the problem would simply wash away with the next rain. Nature, however, had other plans.
Act 3. The Great Stink. June 1858. A freak heat wave hit London. Temperatures soared to levels unheard of in the damp British Isles. The Thames began to shrink. As the water level dropped, it revealed vast, steaming mudbanks of accumulated human excrement, industrial chemicals, and animal carcasses. The heat acted like a catalyst. The river began to boil with fermentation. The smell was not just bad, it was atmospheric. It was a physical wall of rot that moved through the city. It was reported that people were struck unconscious just by walking near the riverbanks. And finally, it reached the House of Commons. The politicians who had spent decades debating the sewerage question suddenly found themselves unable to breathe. They soaked the curtains of Parliament in chloride of lime to mask the stench. They discussed fleeing to the countryside. For the first time, the elite realized that the filth of the poor was not a local issue. In the air of London, there was no class system. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Benjamin Disraeli, stood before the House, clutching a scented handkerchief, and called the Thames a Stygian pool, reeking with ineffable horrors. Within 18 days, a bill was passed. The city had to be rebuilt, not for the sake of the poor, but because the empire could no longer stand the smell of its own progress. Act 4. The Subterranean Cathedral. To save London, they turned to a man of iron and precision, Joseph Bazalgette. Bazalgette's plan was a feat of Herculean ambition. He proposed to build a labyrinth of main intercepting sewers. His goal was to catch the waste before it reached the Thames and carry it far to the east, away from the lungs of the city. This was the largest civil engineering project of the 19th century. They used 318 million bricks. They used Portland cement, a new material that could harden underwater. Bazalgette was obsessive. He knew that London would grow, so he calculated how much capacity the city needed, and then he doubled it. "We're only going to do this once," he said. He built pumping stations that looked like Byzantine palaces. He understood that even the most disgusting work of civilization deserved a sense of dignity. These cathedrals of sewage housed massive steam engines that breathed like titans, lifting the waste of millions and pushing it toward the horizon. By 1875, the work was finished. The Great Stink was a memory. Cholera, which had killed tens of thousands, vanished from London, never to return. Conclusion: the legacy of the shadows. Joseph Bazalgette didn't just build a sewer system, he created the blueprint for the modern metropolis. Every time you turn on a tap in a skyscraper, every time you walk down a clean street in a city of millions, you are living in Bazalgette's world. He moved the darkness of our existence underground. He allowed us the luxury of forgetting where our waste goes, and in that forgetting, we found our health and our future. But there is a haunting irony in this victory. The Victorians built for eternity, but they built for a world that didn't yet know the limits of the earth. Today, our rivers are once again facing the pressure of a changing climate and a growing population. The Great Stink taught us that a civilization is only as strong as its ability to manage its own shadows. We are not separate from the environment we inhabit.
We are simply the temporary occupants of a delicate balance. We watch the past so we can understand the present. The streets you walk upon are a crust over a hidden world, a labyrinth of brick and sweat that saved a city from itself. Next time you stand by a river in a great city, listen to the flow. Beneath the noise of the traffic, the old rhythm remains. We are the children of the engineers who dared to tame the rot.
I am Eni, and together we continue to reborn history. I'll see you in the next era.